Welcome to Seneschal, and today we'll be looking at the big September FAQ and how it affects Sisters of Battle. I was planning on doing a video on my display board, but some supplies for it were scheduled to arrive late last week, didn't make it, so that will have to be pushed down to this week once they do arrive. I did get a bunch of painting done on Bolter Sisters and a handful of Seraphim, including one quick and ugly conversion for a Seraphim Superior with Bolt Pistol, Plasma Pistol. I'll probably show all those on that next video, but let's get on with the FAQ discussion. First point is the deep strike changes. I think this is a good thing for us. It stops people from defensively deep striking models to counter our alpha, with no downside as they could still just drop them into their zone if they did get to go first and still hit us with their full firepower. So this allows us to have a possible chance of hitting the juicy targets turn 1 if we do get that turn 1. And since we didn't really have access to deep strike other than with the Seraphim, it doesn't affect our play, because if we did put a Seraphim squad in deep strike, they were definitely not dropping turn 1 anyway. So I'd say slight buff all around from this change in forcing our opponents to interact with us. Second change I want to touch on is the infiltration changes. These are also a nice boost for us, as it will stop that hard drop alpha of Berserkers, Cultists, Electropriest, or Dragoons. With a turn 1 charge, they effectively can't fail. Now, instead of effectively deep striking after both sides have deployed, but before turn 1 begins, they get a 9-inch move similar to the Vanguard move for Dominions. In fact, the Vanguard move is actually slightly better than what they get, as we can choose to advance in our movement, but theirs is specifically a 9-inch move. This is a big bonus for us in certain matchups, especially Adeptus Mechanicus, as our multiple spall unit philosophy makes for Electropriests effectively guaranteed their 3-up invulnerable top of turn 1 if they want it. Also, with the Dragoons being able to pen in the Dominions with this movement if they go first, they could almost always just keep our Meltaguns locked in our deployment zone, which is really devastating for how we play the game. So now that they can still get a turn 1 charge, but it isn't guaranteed, and it's not just a foregone conclusion that they've got us locked in where we start. I'd say this is another buff into certain matchups. Next we have the change to the fly keyword. This one I'd say is a slight nerf to us, but not one that I'm too worried about. Celestine not being able to just hop through screens or up to the top of buildings for free in the charge phase is certainly a change. That doesn't make her better. But that being said, with the volume of Stormbolters, Heavy Bolters, and Heavy Flamers we generally bring to bear, I don't have too much concern about our ability to clear out chaff units, so she can still find a charge lane in most cases. This also adds value to the Battle Sisters screening for our Retributor Firebase, since what hurts us also affects the enemy equally. We can still utilize the standard fly rules for our Acts of Faith, so the mobility of Celestine and Seraphim is still incredibly strong. I'd say this one is a slight nerf, but we weren't taking advantage of the abusive elements that they're trying to combat, so our play isn't really changing much, so I'm not too bent out of shape about it. Then we have the new stratagem, Prepared Positions, that for 2 CP we are able to give cover to our entire army, at least until there's a Sisters of Battle Titanic model. Yeah, but the problem is that they have to stay in our deployment zone, so I can't quite decide on this one. I really like that it exists, but I normally deploy most of the army in cover as a rule, and the vehicles are unlikely to be wholly within our deployment zone due to the Vanguard move, as I generally move them up slightly to cover some more ground, but stay just within the bubble of improved invulnerable save from Celestine. So I don't know how much we'll utilize this, but it could come in handy. I'll have to see, get some games in with it. That being said, even if it isn't just tailor-made for how I currently deploy and play my army, I do like this change a lot. Something to try and help armies handle the gunline alpha is a step in the right direction. Now, I can just hear myself grumbling about this in less than a month when October is here, and Du Bois are crumping me with turn 1 cover and surviving everything but the Melta shots I throw at them, but we'll see. All in all, I like this, even if it doesn't necessarily change much of what I was going to do. Next, the stratagem changes for Blood Angels and Knights. I think this is an interesting way to try and rein in that generic top table list of Castle and Smash Captains and Guard, and I think it will work. I do think that this is going to slow down those lists so they can't just use the stratagems every turn of the game without giving it a second thought, or really any consideration at all. The increased cost paired with the next change we'll discuss is good for Sisters. Toning down the buffet CP farm lists will slow the game down and allow Sisters to compete a little more evenly. That being said, I'm expecting to see some other factions and new lists pop up and take their place, so we'll have to see what comes of that. And then we've got the December chapter approved changes to really tweak it some more. Last thing we're going to hit on is the much needed change to the CP regeneration mechanics. While people are still able to bring the Loyal 32 and start with a bunch of CPs, the increased costs paired with the ability to only regain generally 5 CP throughout the game will require choices to be made and cost-benefit considerations to be regarded, which I'm really happy with. No more of just all right, I'm going to do everything every turn. I'm going to get back a third of my points. I'm going to get back a third of your points so I can use every stratagem forever and never run out. That's a frustrating mechanic to me. No more players ended the game with more CP than they started. No more having my CPs turn into 4 more stratagems used against me because my opponent started rolling hot. I'm all for this. So in all, I have a positive outlook on the changes made in the September FAQ. I look forward to my next games and also seeing what factions and lists rise to the top in the coming months before Chapter approved. I'm going to go ahead and bet on Yanari and Tau seeing more top table finishes, so let's see how my prediction fares, and laugh at me when I'm wrong. Though betting on Nick Nadavati to continue to win with his Inari list feels like betting on the favorite. Okay. Thank you for joining me in this quick look at my thoughts on the September FAQ's impact for Sisters of Battle. I would love to get your reactions and opinions, so please leave those down in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you would as well. Good luck on your wargaming. Watch out for Orktober because Du Bois are coming. Ave Imperator.